I was having thoughts about influence and being an influencer and what is truly an influence. And when you think of influence, you almost think of power. It's it's this real unique ability to be able to make somebody do something without them realizing they're doing something. Now, this is not going to be a deep video. It's kind of going to be straight to the point. It's just a thought I had, and I just kind of wanted to. I like to take this channel as like my journal. So whenever I have an idea, I kind of just go on with it. But I remember a long time ago, I was working this job, and it was a job like any other job, job with benefits, W-2s at the end of the year, company lunches, you know. And at this job, I have an old truck. I have a, a a truck that's over 15 years old, and like any truck that's over 15 years old, it develops 15-year-old truck problems. It has a little bit of oil leak that if you don't watch out, that you gotta watch. It's not like a fast oil leak. It's like a little oil leak, but it's all my truck guys kind of understand when you got an oil leak in your old truck, you're not really worried, but you keep an eye on it. You really pay attention to it. So, and the job I worked, you had to drive about 40-45 miles to get there. So it was like a little over 80-mile trip every day, which is nothing to a truck, but that's 80 miles a day of just driving. It can cost on you. But when I would get to the parking lot of my job, I would check my oil just to double check to make sure it's not leaking any faster. And or I would just look underneath the truck and stuff like that. Then I would go on to work. But every day when I would get off in my job, because I was working a 13-hour job, when I would get off in my job, I would check my oil before leaving. I would check my oil. I would check all my fluids. I would look at my tires because the way I had to drive over a bridge of water, with nothing but water. So if I broke down, I would break down so if I would have broken down, I would have broken down on the side of a fucking bridge, which is terrifying, especially at night. So every day before I left that area I was in, I would check my oil, then I would drive to the gas station across the street, and I would check the pressure on my tires. Well, after a while, one of the people that I work with started checking their oil, and they had a new vehicle, and they would see me do it for like about a month, and then they started doing it. I was going, man, I was like, hey man, what you doing over there? And like I said, they had a fairly new vehicle, and I was, what you doing? Like, I'm just changing the oil in I'm just checking the oil in my car. I'm kind of like, hey, your car is brand fucking new. I understand it, but why would you do that? So I would kind of ignore it. Well, it kind of hit me. I was like, I think I influenced somebody, and I think that's something that we kind of take for granted on how powerful influencing somebody is. I bet they think that was their idea. To have the power to convey your thoughts into somebody and them not really understanding that their thoughts are your thoughts. It's like those heavy debates, you know, where you'll debate somebody and then they'll take your idea and then they'll go tell somebody your idea, and then after a while they forget where that idea comes from and it's their idea. And it's a weird thing, influences. You know, you know, you see it a lot when you're a kid, when your best friend smokes weed, and you don't smoke weed, but he smokes weed. And he smokes. And then one day you go, hey, I want to smoke that too. And you smoke weed. But your pathway to gets deeper into drugs than he did because he stayed on weed, but you went far. Now, in your mind, you thinking smoking weed was your idea. This is something I wanted to do. But you were with a person that smoked weed every time you saw him. So that's influence. When I used to work at another job, there was this man I used to work for. And his office, kind of like a lot of men in power, he surrounds himself with women. Because women are great at details. You know, women are awesome at details. And so they will surround themselves by women. There's other reason why they do that too. Sometimes you can look and be like, hey man, all these women are pretty. Well, he surrounds himself around pretty women. So, you know, they got other reasons. But I don't want to jump off the subject. But when he would be happy, all the women in that office would be happy. When he was sad, all the women in that office would be sad. When he was overjoyed, the women in that office would be extremely overjoyed. When he liked somebody, all the women in that office would like that person. But when he got angry, all the women in that office hated whatever he was angry at. And that really kind of makes me dig into the whole Charles Manson thing, where you can imagine Charles Manson being in this bar room with all these women who are young, and he would do these speeches, and the women would get into the speeches. And I bet when Charles was happy, the women were happy. I bet when Charles was sad, the women were sad. I bet when Charles was overjoyed, the women were overjoyed. I bet when Charles wanted to get drunk, the women wanted to get drunk. But then we also found out that when Charles wanted to kill somebody, the women said, who and what you want to use and when you want to do it. That influence is a motherfucker, man. That's that true power. I can control a person with words. Never have to put a finger on them. Kind of like when you watch the TV shows, the big bosses are always weak as far as a physical thing. But everything that is strength works around them. They figured out how to make themselves so important, or they found out a leverage, they found out where everybody's weakness was, and they put their influence on them to where they follow this little guy. That influence is a thing. But I just wanted to say that. It was something on my mind heavy. But yeah, influence. That's a motherfucker.